How to remember your soul contract, your life mission. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something more? That deep inside, there's a mission uniquely yours even if you can't fully explain it. That's not just imagination, that's your soul speaking. Each of us comes into this world with a soul contract, a divine agreement we made before birth. It includes the lessons we're here to learn, the people we're destined to meet, and the purpose we're meant to fulfill. But the noise of the world can cause us to forget. So today, let's talk about how to remember that contract, how to rediscover your life mission. The whisper within, listening to the voice of your soul. Have you ever had a quiet feeling tug at your heart? A subtle knowing deep inside even when the world told you otherwise. That's not just intuition, that's your soul speaking. And in today's loud, fast, and noisy world, it's more important than ever to listen to the whisper within, because that voice holds the blueprint to your highest self, your deepest truth, and your life's mission. The soul doesn't scream, it whispers. The voice of the soul doesn't compete with the chaos of the world. It won't yell over distractions, noise, or constant busyness. It speaks in stillness, in quiet moments, in the space between your thoughts, and that's why so many people miss it. We live in a world addicted to noise, notifications, opinions, news, comparison, and pressure. We're constantly bombarded by external voices telling us who we should be, what we should want, and how we should live. But the truth of your life, your purpose, your alignment, your direction won't be found out there. It lives in here, in the gentle, guiding whisper within. You were born with inner guidance long before the world told you who you were. Your soul already knew. You came into this life with a divine internal compass. Some call it intuition. Others call it the higher self, divine guidance, or the Holy Spirit. Whatever name you give it, the truth is, you're not disconnected, you've just been distracted. The whisper within is always trying to lead you back home to your truth, your calling, your path. But you must learn to hear it. You must learn to trust it, because the more you listen, the louder it becomes. And the more you ignore it, the quieter it grows, not because it disappears, but because you've tuned it out. Stillness is how you remember to hear the voice within. You need to slow down. You need to pause long enough to notice what's rising from your spirit, not what's echoing from the world. Start creating space in your day for stillness. This doesn't have to be complicated, just a few minutes of silence in the morning, a walk in nature without your phone, a deep breath before every decision, a moment of reflection before bed. The point isn't perfection, it's presence, because your soul doesn't speak in chaos. It speaks in clarity, but only when you're quiet enough to receive it. The whisper isn't always logical, but it's always true. Here's the thing about your soul. It won't always make sense to your mind. Your soul might nudge you to walk away from what's safe, to leave the relationship that everyone else thinks is perfect, to take a risk others don't understand, to say no to something good so you can say yes to something aligned. That's because your soul isn't here to please the world, it's here to fulfill a purpose. You might not always understand it in the moment, but when you follow the whisper within, you'll always look back and see how it was guiding you even when it didn't make sense at the time. Your soul speaks through signs, feelings, and repetition. So how does your soul speak? Through peace, that quiet inner knowing that something is right, even if it's scary. Through discomfort, that nagging feeling when something no longer aligns with who you're becoming. Through repetition, when the same idea, message, or dream keeps coming back, even when you try to forget it. Through signs, things you keep seeing, hearing, or noticing that point you in a direction. And most powerfully, through your emotions, your joy, your resistance, your tears, your inspiration. They're not random. They're messengers. Your job is to listen without dismissing it. That's how you build the relationship with your inner voice. That's how you let your soul lead. Build trust through action. Hearing your soul is one thing. Trusting it is another. Trust is built through action. The more you follow that whisper, even in small ways, the more evidence you create that it's real, wise, and trustworthy. It might feel uncomfortable at first. You might second guess yourself, But the more you act on that guidance, the more aligned your life becomes, and the more confident you'll feel walking your unique path even if no one else understands it. Because at the end of the day, you're not here to live a life of imitation. You're here to live a life of intention. The whisper within will never lead you wrong. It may lead you into growth. It may stretch you out of comfort. It may ask you to surrender your plans for something greater. But it will never lead you astray. It's not the voice of fear, it's the voice of freedom. It's not the voice of ego, it's the voice of eternity. It's not the voice of who the world wants you to be, it's the voice of who you already are. The whisper within is not just guidance, it's your soul remembering who you are. And when you learn to listen, your entire life begins to shift. So be still, pay attention, trust the nudge, the answers are already inside you. You don't need to chase your purpose, you need to listen for it. Because when you follow the whisper within, you align with the life you were born to live, and that is how you remember your soul. Your pain is a portal transforming wounds into purpose. There's a truth that life eventually teaches all of us. One way or another, pain is inevitable. Loss, betrayal, heartbreak, failure, they touch every life. But what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise isn't the absence of pain, it's the transformation of it. Your pain is not the end, it is a portal, a sacred doorway leading you from survival to strength, from suffering to purpose. The world teaches us to avoid pain, to numb it, to push it down and pretend it doesn't exist. But the soul knows better. The soul knows that pain is not here to break you, it's here to build you. Pain is a messenger, not a punishment. The first shift you must make is to stop seeing pain as a punishment. You are not being targeted. You are being taught. Pain is the soul's way of getting your attention. It's a signal that something within you needs to be seen, healed, and transformed. When you were broken, when you were abandoned, when everything fell apart, it wasn't to destroy you. It was to awaken you. Something inside you was being activated. Something was being pulled to the surface, not to shame you, but to shape you. Your deepest wound often holds your deepest wisdom. Look back on the moments that changed you most. Were they easy or were they painful? We grow the most not when everything is going right, but when everything is falling apart. Pain pushes us into places comfort never could. It forces us to confront what we've ignored. It strips away illusions and ego. It reveals our resilience, and over time, the very wound that once brought you to your knees becomes the source of your power. The thing that once shamed you becomes the story that saves someone else. That's not a coincidence, that's purpose. You were not meant to carry pain, you were meant to channel it. So many people get stuck in their pain because they think it's theirs to carry forever. But pain isn't meant to be a permanent identity, it's meant to be a catalyst. You don't have to stay in survival mode, you can rise. You can take what happened to you and turn it into something meaningful. You can use your voice to speak what others are afraid to say. You can use your experience to light the path for someone else. When you channel your pain into purpose, it no longer controls you. You take your power back. There is strength in the breaking. Maybe you've been taught to hide your wounds, to pretend you're okay, to be strong by being silent. But real strength is not in pretending. Real strength is in facing the pain, feeling every ounce of it, and deciding to rise anyway. Real strength is being vulnerable enough to say, "This hurt me, but it didn't end me. In fact, it awakened me." The breaking was not the end. It was the beginning, a beginning of deeper self-awareness, deeper compassion, deeper connection to who you really are. So don't curse the breaking, bless it. It cracked you open so something higher could pour in. Purpose is found on the other side of pain. Every great purpose story begins with struggle. Every healer was once wounded. Every teacher was once a student in the dark. Every voice of inspiration was once silenced by pain. Why? Because purpose is born when you refuse to let pain have the final word. Maybe you were abused and now you help others reclaim their worth. Maybe you felt unlovable and now you teach others how to love themselves. Maybe you were silenced and now your voice sets people free. You didn't go through all that pain just to suffer. You went through it so you could lead others through the same fire and show them it's survivable. Healing is the bridge between pain and purpose. Transformation doesn't happen by ignoring your pain. It happens by healing it. Healing is not linear, it's messy, it's layered, but it's necessary, because unhealed pain becomes a prison. It keeps you in patterns, attracting the same wounds over and over again. But when you choose to face your pain, to forgive, to release, to grieve, to feel, you reclaim your freedom. And in that freedom, your mission becomes clear. What once hurt you now empowers you. You are not broken, you are becoming. If you're in pain right now, I want you to hear this. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not being punished. You are becoming. Becoming wiser, becoming stronger, becoming more aligned with your truth. Your pain is shaping your character, your vision, your voice. It's refining you into someone who has something real to offer this world. So don't run from it. Don't bury it. Don't numb it. Walk through it. Because on the other side of that pain is a power you've never met before. Your pain is not pointless. Your suffering was not random. And your story is not over. Your pain is a portal, and once you step through it, you become someone who no longer hides their wounds but wears them like armor. Someone who uses their past not as an excuse, but as a platform. So remember this, you were not just meant to survive, you were meant to transform. Your purpose is waiting, and your pain is the key that unlocks the door. Follow the pull, not the pressure. Aligning with divine direction. There comes a moment in every life when you must choose. Will you follow the pressure of the world or the pull of your soul? One leads to burnout. The other leads to purpose. One keeps you chasing approval. The other brings you into divine alignment. Today's world is full of pressure to be successful, to be liked, to keep up, to meet expectations that may have nothing to do with who you really are. But beneath all that noise, there is a subtle, sacred pull, one that whispers this way. That pull is your divine direction, and the more you honor it, the more your life begins to align with who you were always meant to be. The pressure comes from outside, the pull comes from within. Pressure is loud. It screams at you to move faster, do more, achieve higher. It's the voice of culture, comparison, deadlines, and doubt. The pull is quiet. It doesn't force, it guides. It nudges you through feeling, through inner knowing. It often doesn't make sense to the mind, but it always feels like truth in the soul. The world may pressure you to follow a path that looks good, even if it doesn't feel right. But the pull will lead you toward what's right, even if it looks uncertain to others. That's how you know the difference. Pressure pushes, pull calls. Your soul knows the way before your mind understands. You may not have a step-by-step map for your life, but your soul does. Divine direction isn't always logical, but it's always intentional. You've felt this before, that inner nudge to leave a place, end a relationship, try something new, move to a city you can't explain. You felt it in your gut before your mind could make sense of it. That's not delusion, that's divine alignment trying to lead you, and the more you delay or doubt it, the more disconnected and frustrated you feel. Because your soul will not rest in places it doesn't belong. The pull is often inconvenient, but always sacred. Let's be real. Following the pull doesn't always feel easy. It may ask you to walk away from stability. It may ask you to disappoint people who don't understand your path. It may ask you to trust something you can't yet prove. That's because divine direction isn't about comfort, it's about calling. Sometimes it pulls you into the unknown. But that unknown is where your becoming lives. That unknown is where the miracles are waiting. That unknown is where your growth, your gifts, and your next level are waiting to be unlocked. Pressure wants you to prove, pull invites you to align. When you live under pressure, you're constantly performing. You hustle to meet expectations. You say yes when you mean no. You ignore the signs, the exhaustion, the emptiness because you're too busy trying to prove your worth. But when you follow the pull, you stop performing and start aligning. You no longer live for applause, you live from authenticity. You no longer ask, what do they want me to do? But instead, what am I called to do? This is where peace begins, not from achieving more, but from honoring the call. Your purpose isn't found in pressure, it's found in presence. So many people think they'll find their life mission by pushing harder, grinding longer, achieving more. But purpose doesn't come through pressure, it comes through presence. You discover your divine direction in quiet moments, in the ideas that won't leave you alone, in the dreams that keep showing up. In the tears you cry when you're finally honest with yourself, be still long enough to listen. The pull is already there. It's not hiding, it's just waiting for you to trust it. Courage is required to follow the pull, let's be clear. Following the pull won't always make sense to others. And that's okay, it wasn't given to them, it was given to you. You may be called to break generational cycles, to leave the traditional path, to do things differently. That's not rebellion, that's obedience to divine direction. It takes courage to walk a path no one else can see, but every step you take in alignment creates space for others to rise too. When you follow your pull, you become a light. You give others permission to follow theirs. Let peace be your compass, so how do you know if you're following pressure or pull? Simple, check your peace. Pressure produces anxiety, confusion, burnout. Pull produces peace, clarity, and alignment even in the unknown. You may still feel fear, but beneath that fear you'll feel a grounded sense of rightness. A sense of, this may be hard, but this is where I'm meant to go. Let that peace guide you. It's your soul's way of saying, you're getting warmer, keep going. You were not created to live a life of pressure. You were created to live a life of purpose, and purpose doesn't come from chasing what looks good. It comes from trusting what feels true, so tune in, get quiet. Follow the pull even if it leads you away from everything familiar, because that pull is not random, it is divine, it is sacred. It is your soul remembering the path it chose before you were born. And when you follow it even imperfectly, you align with everything you were born to become. Title: Childhood Clues. Your first loves hold the keys. There's a sacred wisdom hidden in your past, a map to your purpose. Buried not in your degrees, not in your titles, but in your childhood. Before the world told you who to be, before fear crept in, and long before you forgot you knew. You knew what you loved, you knew what made you come alive, you knew what felt natural, exciting, and effortless. And those things, those first loves, they weren't random. They were clues, echoes of your soul's purpose. Seeds of your future planted in your early years. So today, we return to those early moments, not to stay in the past, but to unlock the truth about who you are and what you're here to do. Before conditioning, there was clarity. Think back to who you were before the world started shaping you. Before grades, expectations, pressure, and pain, when you were free, curious, and unfiltered. What did you love to do simply because it made you happy? Was it writing, drawing, helping others, building things? Leading games, asking questions, imagining wild stories? That's not childishness, that's clarity. That was your soul in its rawest form, showing you where it felt at home. Most of us don't lose our purpose, we bury it under other people's expectations. The world teaches us to value logic over passion, approval over authenticity, but your soul remembers, and your childhood holds the proof. Your first loves were soul aligned. Your early passions weren't about success or status, they were about essence. You weren't trying to make money from drawing in the margins of your notebook. You weren't worried about being a CEO while pretending to be one in your backyard. You weren't chasing validation when you got lost in music, nature, or stories. You were simply doing what your soul was designed to do. What you loved then often points to what you're meant to return to now with deeper awareness, maturity, and courage. The form may evolve, but the essence remains the same. The world may have talked you out of it at some point. You likely heard it. That's not practical. You'll never make money doing that. Grow up. Be realistic. And so you traded your fire for safety. You chose the smart path over the soulful one, and now years later you may feel like something's missing, like you're successful on paper but restless in spirit. That emptiness isn't failure. It's your soul saying, go back, pick up what you put down, reconnect with what made you feel alive. Clues are hidden in how you played, loved, and felt. The signs were always there. Think about how you spent hours when no one was watching, what you gravitated toward naturally even if it wasn't praised. The activities that made you lose track of time, the moments when you felt fully yourself. Maybe you loved creating, maybe you were the peacemaker, the explorer, the performer, the helper, the dreamer. Each role was a preview of what you could become if you stayed aligned with your spirit. You weren't just playing, you were practicing purpose. You don't have to start over, just return. Reconnecting with your first loves doesn't mean abandoning your current life. It means bringing your true self back into it. It might mean starting a creative hobby again. It might mean changing careers, or it might simply mean remembering what joy feels like and letting that guide your decisions. This isn't regression, it's reclamation. You're not becoming someone new. You're becoming someone you've always been. And the beautiful part, the passion that once made you feel different as a child might be the very gift that sets you apart as an adult. Childhood wasn't a phase, it was a foreshadowing. Your early years weren't just a season to grow out of, they were a sacred preview. A time when your soul was unfiltered, open, and alive. Your first loves. They're not random hobbies, they're sacred hints, they're divine blueprints, they're the soul's way of saying, here's who you really are. You don't have to chase your purpose blindly, you just have to turn around and remember. The world told you to grow up, settle down, and be realistic, but your soul, it's still whispering, remember who you were before the world told you to forget. Your purpose isn't lost, it's waiting, buried in the games you played, the dreams you drew, the joy you felt. So go back, look again, because the keys you've been searching for are already in your hands. Your childhood didn't lie, it left you clues. You didn't come to forget, you came to remember. There is something sacred buried deep within you, something older than your name, deeper than your story, and more powerful than any label the world has placed on you. It's not something you earn, it's not something you find by chasing or achieving, it's something you remember. You didn't come to this world to forget who you are, you came to remember. You didn't come to be shaped by fear, conditioned by limitation, or silenced by doubt. You came to wake up to the truth, to your essence, to your divine purpose. The journey is not about becoming, it's about returning. The world will tell you to hustle for your worth, to seek validation, to become someone, to prove something, but your soul knows you already are. The spiritual journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about peeling back the layers of everything you were told to be, so you can return to who you've always been. You're not missing anything, you're not incomplete, you are simply covered in forgetting. You were born whole, born with a blueprint, born with a mission, born with a light. And life's journey is not about searching for that light, but remembering that it never left. Forgetting is part of the plan, but not the destination. When we arrive in this world, we forget our divinity, our purpose, our power. We're shaped by parents, systems, trauma, and expectations. We begin to identify with the external, what we have, what we do, how we look, who approves of us. But none of that is who you truly are. You are not your pain. You are not your failures. You are not your performance. The forgetting was part of the human experience, but you were never meant to stay asleep. Life keeps whispering, keeps nudging, keeps offering you moments of awakening, reminders to come back home to your spirit. The soul remembers even when the mind forgets. Even in your darkest moments, your soul remembers. Even when you feel lost, disconnected, numb, there's a part of you that still knows, that still believes, that still longs for more. Have you ever had a moment where you felt something stir inside you, but you couldn't explain it? A dream that wouldn't go away, a calling you couldn't silence, a memory you couldn't place but deeply felt? That's not fantasy. That's your soul trying to help you remember. Remember who you are. Remember why you came. Remember the divine assignment written on your heart before you were even born. The signs are everywhere if you're willing to see. Life is always sending signs to help you remember. In moments of beauty, in synchronicities, in the things that feel too perfect to be coincidences, in the conversations that shift you, in the stillness that speaks louder than noise. But most of us are so busy trying to keep up with the world that we miss the divine breadcrumbs on our path. Stillness is how we remember, presence is how we reconnect, trust is how we return. You are being guided always. The signs don't come to teach you something new. They come to remind you of what your soul already knows. Your purpose is not found, it's remembered. You don't have to find your purpose like it's some lost object outside of you. It's not in a job title. It's not in a paycheck. It's not in someone else's approval. Purpose lives inside you, encoded in your passions, your pain, your gifts, and your growth. You already carry what you're seeking. The more you strip away the noise, the more clearly you'll hear the voice that's been guiding you all along. You don't need to become perfect, you need to become present. Your remembering heals more than just you when you remember who you are. You don't just change your own life, you become a mirror for others to do the same. Your light gives others permission to shine. Your courage to awaken wakes others up. This world is aching for people who are awake, people who are whole, people who walk in love, in truth, in purpose. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. Every step you take toward remembering brings light to a world drowning in forgetting. You are not lost, you are awakening. If you feel like you're wandering, searching, or stuck, breathe. You are not lost, you are awakening. The confusion you feel, it's not failure, it's friction. Friction between the illusion you were taught and the truth trying to break through. Let go of what no longer feels real. Release who you had to be to survive and allow yourself to rise into who you were born to be. You didn't come to play small. You didn't come to conform. You came to remember your light and embody your truth. You didn't come to forget. You came to remember that you are enough, that you are divine, that your life has meaning, that you are here for a reason, and every moment you choose alignment over approval, truth over fear, stillness over noise, you are remembering. This isn't the beginning of your journey. This is the return to everything you already are. So welcome back. You didn't come to forget, you came to remember.